So that number is increased by, I did the analysis for the school committee, I think well over $1 million in the last 3 years. So it's a number that we think we have to address if we're going to try and get the budget to focus on the supplies that we need for the students rather than these types of costs. Dental insurance, 3%, I think is actually pretty good. And the certified retirement is a 4% increase. That's into the state retirement system. I mean, stay tuned for that. We never know until the last minute what we're doing with that, but that's what we were supposed to budget for that one. That comes right from the state actuarial team, and oftentimes they use that to try and reduce state aid or compensate for state aid. So that number might be changing as we go forward, but it probably won't be a savings for us. The state will take that. The state will take that savings. Special education is, with the new chart of accounts, special education is and so are some other initiatives or projects we have all throughout the budget. So it's several line items here, and when you add them up, it's $3.7 million, almost $3.8 million. It's an increase of $190,000, or over 5%. That includes tuitions, different services for the students, nursing services, PT, speech, OT, the typical services, and the region assessment. That's the special ed, the Newport County Regional Special Ed. You'll see in here, I mentioned it again, we haven't actually gotten our assessment costs. We have it budgeted flat with 4% increase in tuitions. So we'll see if that is how that works out for us. But that is an unknown that we're dealing with, among other unknowns that we have out there. Utilities is almost $1 million number. We have a 14% increase in water. We understand that could be coming. I'm not sure if that was approved by the PUC or not, but that would be payable to the Portsmouth Water Authority. So we budgeted for it. That's what we heard was coming. We are out to bid for the fuel cost, the heating fuel cost, and we're out as part of the say an East Bay group. There's probably more communities than just East Bay, but there's a group of communities going out to bid. The town as well. We are down to I think there's one building now that actually has heating fuel. So we budgeted a 14% increase for that, and perhaps that'll come in better. And student transportation, I think we already discussed that. You can see the budget line is current year is almost $1.7 million. So we budgeted almost $1.8 million, and we're down to a 2% increase. That maybe we can reduce that as well. On the revenue side, our second biggest number on the revenue side is our state aid. And we budgeted $4.4 million, as you can see. This is from the 5% reduction. And currently, as we've been told, it's a 3.8% reduction, $232,000. So it looks like we're on the good side of that. And we'll see what the 2010 number is. So we'll see what we're building off to see if we have to reduce our base anymore at all. But as I said, every 1% is about $44,000. That's a good way to figure it. So if it's 1 or 2%, we should be able to work something through that. Other state funds, we have $877,000 plus in other state funds. That's a group home aid, which is $630,000, I believe. Our voc aid, $11,000. And this year is the, unless we get reauthorized the last year of the stabilization funds. So we have $235,945, which is allowable to backfill some of our state aid and help us to balance our budget. As it says there, it's a non-reoccurring aid. Medicaid reimbursement, we budgeted $500,000 this year. As you see in the budget book, that's an increase of our typical budget of $360,000. We have been budgeting $360,000, receiving $360,000. In the last couple of years, with the Recovery Act that was passed by Congress, the Medicaid reimbursement rates have increased. And we haven't been taking all that money in, and this is a good opportunity to take the money. It's not that we are counting on new money. It's money that we can take to help solve this problem. It's one-time money. It probably won't be there again, but we're going to use it. So you might notice we've used Medicaid as a one-time and the stimulus as a one-time. There's a few one-timers in here, which we'd like to try and avoid. Tuitions are being reduced again. The 9th grade class coming in from Little Compton is about 10 students smaller than the 12th grade class leaving Little Compton. And the 8th grade class coming up 7th grade is even smaller than that. So this is going to be a diminishing number for as long as we can see down the road. So I understand there's a contract with Little Compton that runs through about 2012 or 2012. So we'll see how that works out when the time comes. But this revenue has been decreasing for at least 3 years, and probably next year and 2 or 3 years after that, unless there's some big change in Old Compton. And we budgeted the town, again, as taking us to the cap, $1,200,000. What we have left to do, the work we have left to do here to eliminate the gap and balance the budget, we're going to keep looking at the staffing. As I mentioned, some economies with the closing of Elmhurst and some special ed services, but also as we start to get our schedules finalized and the course selections done by the students, you might be able to find a person or a part of a person or a part of a position, pardon me, that we can use to reduce the budget. We're going to look at all of our collective bargaining agreements. The ones that are open, of course, we'll start negotiating, and the rest of them to see if there's any way that try and find a win-win that help us balance this budget going forward, find a sustainable savings. Continue to check every line item to see what we can do to, if we get close, we'll have to draw the line and say this is the end here. We got to balance the budget, and we're going to, stop here. We got a challenge is going to be maintaining our current revenue, making sure that the state aid isn't reduced any further. The town can continue to help us out, and of course, the staff's always looking for new competitive grants, but also maybe just some new revenue out there that we can maybe use to offset some of our expenditures, especially this hard time. I got the warrants next. This year the request, as I understand it, is similar to prior year requests. We're asking for a building warrant, a $350,000 building warrant. This warrant is eligible for the state construction aid at a rate of 30%. So whatever the debt service is, almost a third of that is paid by the state of Rhode Island, both the principal and interest. What we've done this year is selected from the RGB study, the Robinson Green Beretta study, I guess that is. Try to find there are so many initiatives there that are so much more than $350,000, we just can't do them. So we've tried to find the ones that we could fit in, some $80,000, $25,000, $10,000, $15,000 ones that we could spread across the schools. They were all numbered 1, 2 for the priorities and code and security and safety. So we tried to do the ones in the code and the security and the safety. I have actually some examples of them. For 10, 11, looking for a $25,000 project at Hathaway. It is a fire code project. We're looking as an initiative to look at school security, and I was amazed about the security in the schools. And we're trying to see if we can't put in, whether it's a monitoring device or an alarm or even just more lights, but something so that if someone's in that school in the middle of the night, we know about it. We had several break-ins, particularly at Elmhurst this year, and we want to. So anyway, we've got security as an issue. It's in the RGB report also as an issue we should look at. So you'll see every school, Hathaway, Melville, the middle school, and the high school, out of this 279, the top number here, has security in there. And it could just be more lights. It could be motion sensors. It could be sound detectors. We have some feelers out there as to what is the best way to go. And then once everything's approved, we'll start to move on that. We've have many projects planned for the summer, which would use the balance of the 09-10 money, and a lot of those projects are in the area. We're going to upgrade the science labs at high school and the middle school with eye wash stations and emergency gas shutoffs. But there was some work done in the middle school this year with the warrant money for electrical upgrades and that type of stuff. And we've had to put in some new water return backflows in the schools, so we got one done, and we'll do the rest of them over the summertime. So those are some of the projects that we're trying to put through with this warrant if it's approved. As I mentioned, it's 30% reimbursable from the state. We have a technology warrant as well that we're requesting approval for. This is also $350,000. I need my glasses for this one. And this is it's every year we buy textbooks and library books from this warrant, and I actually have experience with that in prior life, so it's not that unusual. And technology hardware, there is a major initiative for a wireless at the high school, which would involve switches and routers. And there are there's some laptops for teachers. There's replacement computers at the elementary school and the high school. There's Palm Pilots for the literacy program, and there are various upgrades that are required just to keep current and to replace some old parts in the various schools.